When students enter into medical school, they find anatomy to be most difficult because the question comes, how would they cram all the muscles, the nerves, the functions, and the rest of it? To study anatomy, there are basically three things that you need to know. Three things that you need to know. Okay, number one, you must know that anatomy is a visual study. It's a visual study. You need to see it. You need to see it. If you don't see it, it will not be retentive in your memory. Another thing that you need to understand is that anatomy is mnemonic studies. It's mnemonics. So that's why if you read Teach Me Anatomy, you see that there's much of mnemonics that they use there. So anatomy is mnemonic study, and anatomy is interactive study. Yes. So number one, anatomy is visual study, mnemonic study, and interactive study. Let me explain. When I say that anatomy is visual study, if you check anatomy textbook, one of the textbooks I love so much in anatomy is Atlas of Anatomy. When I started reading anatomy, I started looking up into that Atlas of Anatomy, just scanning through it. And one thing that you need to know is that your brain stores visual image more than text image, or more than what people say, or more than what your lecturer said. But if you study, there are sometimes that you say, okay, someone come up to you and say, I remember this face. What's your name? You are thinking of the person's name, but the face, you just know that you remember that face. That's how you study anatomy. You need to study the image. The image should be in your memory. That's why I advise my students that if they can't get the hard copy of Atlas textbook, they should get at least 50 image, particularly to what they are studying, that section. 50 image of the anatomy, whatever they are studying, and get inside the phone. Early morning, they should wake up, look at the image. Not just study, just look at the image. Just look at the image. If you do that consistently, you will see that image will stick in your memory. And because to explain anatomy, they can explain, okay, for those of us that have studied neuroanatomy, they say, okay, explain the course of the ascending tract, the descending tract. You know that one is not cramming. That one, you need to know how it passed. Maybe they ask you something about the phrenic nerve, the vagus nerve. Explain how it passed from this to that, from the brain to go to the diaphragm. You need to explain how it passes, which muscle is passing, is it lateral? So that kind of thing needs you to have a visual study. Look at the image first. If you want to understand anatomy, look at the image. Even histology. If you look at histological slide, every moment you look at the histological slide, you'll be good histologist. Every time, just wake up, look at the liver, look at the cover cells, look at whatever cells they can look into. Just look at it. If you consistently look at it, the moment you put your eyes inside that microscope and view that slide, you will easily recognize it. You will not have to wait for someone to come and tell you this and that. That's not it. So one of the things to understand in studying anatomy is visual study. Buy flex that contain anatomical drawing. Paste it on your walls. Two ways to study anatomy. I said mnemonic study. Mnemonic stores in memory. Sometimes, okay, for instance, let's talk about brachial plexus. Yes, okay, talk about brachial plexus. We'll talk about the root, the branches, the trunk, the cord, division, and the rest of the things. Sometimes students can't remember the order of it. So they bring out a mnemonic like reach to drink cold beer. That's a mnemonics. Reach to drink cold beer. You know that reach stands for root to trunk, reach to drink, division, and the rest of the things. For instance, they ask the student, okay, what are the rotator cuff muscles? There's a mnemonic called SITAs, sit, supra, infra, and teres, and subscapularis. So those mnemonics are very important. For instance, they can ask you mnemonics for the content in the superior mediastinum. Tivantent, TVANTENT, from the anterior to posterior tivantent. It's very important. So just T stand for thymus, V stand for vein, A stand for artery. That will help you a lot. After your visual study, you get into knowing the mnemonic study. Another part of anatomy that's very interesting is interactive study. Anatomy is not laying alone. You need to study it. You need to interact with students. The more you interact, the more that thing stores, and more you get more informations about that particular thing you study. You can think you have studied everything. Someone will come and tell you something. Say, I did not read this part, but that part was there. So interactive study is very, very important to study anatomy. And when you are reading textbook of anatomy, don't go and start with clinical oriented anatomy. It's a very good textbook, but don't start with clinical oriented anatomy. There's a reason for it.